It's apparent both teams in LA are struggling right now. It's apparent that both teams really have to step back and figure out what they need to do in regards to making trades or anything they need to do to get better. And hopefully their health is on their side as well. But in looking at all this, are both teams liable not to make the playoffs? Let's talk about it. At this point, both LA teams are definitely in a situation that they don't want to be in. A lot of people didn't expect neither one to be in this situation. And honestly, both teams had higher expectations coming into this season. Even though the Clippers are the team that a lot of people might hate on, or a team that a lot of people overlook, based upon what they gave us last year in the playoffs, being down 0-2 every series, winning a series without their best player, Kawhi Leonard, they were expected to be a lot better team going into this season. They were expected to blast off a lot more and put more emphasis on the fact of winning, even though they're without their superstar, Kawhi Leonard. A lot of people thought they would be able to continue doing that going into this season just because of the resiliency that they showed. As far as the Lakers, enough said in regards to that. They assemble a big three in Anthony Davis, LeBron, and Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook's a turnover machine. The Lakers are a mess. They can't defend anybody. LeBron is getting old. Anthony Davis is injury prone. Russell Westbrook is just a turnover waiting to happen. Still trying to find a way to get his triple double and cherish that feat unlike anything else that he can accomplish in his career. So when you look at that in its entirety, that's a problem. That's a team that's not assembled together in the right regards, as in like they fit, they're cohesive. And a lot of times when you look at the Lakers, honestly, they look a lot better when Russell Westbrook's off the floor rather than when he's on the floor, which is a bad thing because they acquired him to be that second or third piece on the team that can help them get over the hump, because LeBron James getting older and because sometimes Anthony Davis can be injury prone and be lackadaisical. Russ hasn't been that answer for them, and honestly, the Lakers haven't found the answer as of yet. Now, as far as the Clippers, there's been COVID health issues along with other teams in the NBA. And of course, their superstar hasn't stepped on the court not 1 minute this season. And of course, you hope that Kawhi Leonard comes back healthy and ready to go in a couple months from now. Hopefully, everything is going well. The progression looks good in regards to what he's doing and how he's moving, his mobility. But of course, we have to see him come back. Then Paul George goes down with his elbow, torn UCL. And I think it got re-aggravated when he came back a couple games ago against the Spurs, and it just really kind of went from there. Now he needs to be reevaluated for 3-4 weeks from now just to see where he's at and how he can contribute to the team or come back on the court and help them win. But that's a whole nother situation, because now you're asking him to come back and not even knowing where this team will be. And then you're asking Kawhi Leonard to come back, not even knowing whether this team can make the playoffs, and trying to push him to help lead this team to a championship. And they might not be at that stage at that time. So it's a lot going on in LA right now. But honestly, if you ask me, both teams really have really are in a situation where they might not make the playoffs, because if you look at the Clippers, like I said, until Paul George comes back, that's 3-4 weeks being reevaluated. Then he might take another week or so after that for him to come back. And you don't want to rush players back, because that's when injuries re-aggravate, which I think that's what happened with Paul George a few games ago when he played against the Spurs and the other teams, where he re-aggravated the elbow and he took some bumps and hits on it, and it just made it worse. And now he has to go into hiatus for a while and recover as much as he can, because now the injury has suffered worse than what it was prior. Now you have to ask yourself is Kawhi Leonard coming back or no? Which has been the question all season. But when he does come back, you have to ask yourself, where will the Clippers be? Where will they be as far as seedings, standings, record-wise? Because you don't want to rush Kawhi Leonard back and the team doesn't really have an opportunity to make the playoffs. Or I'm not going to say they'll have an opportunity to make the playoffs, but it's going to be really tough for them to do that. And you're trying to put too much on him and Paul George to help lead that train all the way to the promised land in the finals, which is definitely going to be tough, knowing that the Warriors and the Suns are in their conference, which is the Western Conference. So to me, if you look at the Lakers and the Clippers, really the heart of LA in LA land is really, really hurting right now because you lost Staples Center, the name, the logo, the legacy of everything about Staples now turning into the crypto arena. And now you're losing your step in regards to the Lakers' pride and championship aspirations and everything like that because they're playing very, very horrible. And then on top of that, you have a Clippers team who should be ascending, but it seems like something always holds them back in regards to injuries or something that holds them back from getting over that hump. It's just been that way throughout their tenure or as long as they've been a team in the NBA. It's always something that holds them back from getting to the ultimate destination. And these are things you don't want to see because you want to see teams flourish. And me personally, between both of these teams, both LA teams, it's really, really bad for this to be happening because right now, when I think about the situation that both teams are going through, we definitely might suffer and go through another year. Not only it's possible that both teams might not make the playoffs, but we might suffer another year going through the fact that both LA teams might not meet up in the playoffs, which that's what everybody wants to see. The buzz kind of died over time about LA versus LA, but at the same time, if they play in a 7-game series, we know it'd be fireworks. And that's exactly what the fans want to see. And that's exactly what we ought to see. But we're not going to get that if they don't find a way to come back. And if both teams don't find a way to resuscitate themselves this season by maybe making a trade or making some adjustments in the lineup, or getting healthy overall and trying to figure things out. I mean, one of those things have to happen for both teams. And honestly, I would like to see both teams in the playoffs healthy at full strength because I personally would love to see both teams play against each other in a 7-game series. I don't know about you, but I still would actually love to see that. And I'm pretty sure the rest of the world would too, even though the buzz of that happening kind of died down over the last couple of years because it just hasn't happened yet. But honestly, the way it looks now, if you're an LA fan, you should definitely root for both teams making the playoffs so they can have an opportunity to face one another, just so the best team in LA can be decided, because it's never going to be decided in regards to who's the best team now. Now, of course, over the years, it's always been the Lakers, no doubt about it. I mean, just because of their winning and their success, you can't override that. But at the same time, since Kawhi Leonard has came to this team along with Paul George, they've assembled a pretty good team of their own that is formidable and capable enough of winning a championship. We just saw last year, if Kawhi Leonard doesn't go down in that second or third round of the playoffs, the Clippers are making the NBA Finals. The Phoenix Suns cannot beat the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. It's no way. The Clippers aren't talented enough. They have a lot of good pieces. DeAndre Ayton's good. Devin Booker's good. But they have their moments where they play really, really good. And like I said, when you look at it in playoff perspective, Chris Paul has his moments where he plays really, really good. And then he has moments of not playing really good. So I can't give, him a pass in regards to that. But at the same time, like I said, playoffs is different than regular season. And I don't think that the Suns would have beat the Clippers. I think the Clippers would have made the finals, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But this is my point. Both teams in LA have an opportunity, to not only face each other, but have an opportunity to win a championship if both of them are healthy. Just that simple. And I think the West will look a whole lot different if both of those teams not only were healthy, but were, playing together on the same page and really had things put together and organized. Because the Lakers do figure out, if they don't trade Russell Westbrook, how to get him on the same page and ingratiate his skills with what they're trying to do in their offense and their operation. They would be a deadly team. That's the reason why they went and got Russell Westbrook, because they thought how deadly of a team they could be with him pushing the ball, LeBron still being the anchor, and AD dominating in the paint the way he's supposed to. They thought that would be an unstoppable trio. And most people's eyes, they thought the same thing. But that's why a lot of people were putting them in the finals before the season even started. But now they see this doesn't work, they don't fit, they don't gel. Now everybody's ready to throw their hands up and jump off the bandwagon, which is understandable because, like I said, they only jumped on the bandwagon probably because of what the Lakers acquired in Russell Westbrook. So you have to ask yourself this: can the Clippers be a championship contender? They could as well if Kawhi Leonard is there. if Kawhi Leonard's there, they definitely could be a championship contender because he's definitely that type of player, and he definitely brings, the best out of other players. He may not speak vocally, but his actions on the court makes other players around him want to play and want to play hard and want to win. I mean, look what he did in Toronto. I mean, he went there one season and pushed them and propelled them to have the mindset of winning and going out there leading by example, and they won the championship. And this is what I'm saying. When you have a great player like that, you could do a lot of great things. And then you add Paul George with that and the rest of the crew and a lot of other talented players they have. They got probably one of the best or the deepest teams in the NBA as far as their bench, everything like that, scoring wise. So and then you add veteran leadership of Serge Ibaka and other players they have that can actually contribute and play at a high level. I mean, honestly, they're definitely a contender if they're 100% healthy. So I definitely want to see both teams possibly play each other, but it's really, really getting slim to see that because both teams don't look like they're not even going to make the playoffs. Both teams right now look like they might be a play-in tournament team at best. And hey, honestly, now that I think about it, they might actually play each other in the play-in tournament to see who actually makes the playoffs. That could be a scenario that we might actually see. Now, of course, that's only one game. That's not a 7-game series, but at the same time, it's a game that would mean a whole lot. And definitely, now that I think about it, that's something that's very possible that can actually possibly happen. So, we have to anticipate to see if it turns out that way. But that's definitely a possibility based upon with what I'm seeing from the Clippers and the Lakers right now. Now, one team can't really do as much. The Clippers, they can't avoid injuries just like no other team can. So the Clippers, their excuse is a little bit different, more so than the Lakers. You have 3 superstars on the floor. You've got to figure it out. You put this team together. This is the product you put on the floor. It's no excuses. Nobody should feel sorry for you. You should find a way to win. And when Anthony Davis did go down, he wasn't playing the greatest anyway. So, I mean, even still, you still have 2 superstars in Russ and LeBron James. So really, it's no excuse. The Clippers do have more of an excuse because Kawhi has never stepped on the floor anytime this season. Paul George has, but Paul George is inconsistent half the time with his shooting and how he goes about his business scoring, but he is a decent scorer and he can, help provide a lot of good offense for a team. And I definitely think he can do a lot of good things. But of course, without Kawhi Leonard, they're not a championship team. They're a playoff team with Paul George. They're a championship team with Kawhi Leonard. So with both of them being there, that's where their ultimate satisfaction would come from, or that's where it would generate from. But they haven't had that opportunity this year as of yet. And it's looking really, really slim now that Paul George has got an injury, along with Kawhi Leonard being out in the first place. So when you look at both teams, yeah, you can't make excuses for either one, but at the same time, you have to look at it. Both teams, they have an opportunity to not only make the playoffs, but do a lot of good things in the playoffs and possibly win a championship with the teams that they have and the roster that they have. But health and, being there and being available and all that counts. All that accounts at some point, and chemistry counts. And if you're there, if you're available and you're healthy, chemistry is built even more. And that's what both teams need. They need more chemistry. They need more time together. They need more building. And that's just the way it is, because like I said, when you add new pieces, anything like that, you need that chemistry, whether it's a draft pick or whether it's a trade, you need chemistry, and chemistry helps win championships as well. So both teams are going through not only the chemistry issues, but, well, I would say the Clippers have more chemistry because they've been together. But honestly, with the new players that they acquired, the Brandon Bostons and a couple other players and Eric Bledsoe, they haven't had an opportunity to play with Kawhi Leonard. So chemistry can play a factor there as well. But these are the things that you need to help win championships or help become a winning team. And this is what both teams are suffering from, along with health issues. And those two are a bad combination. But we definitely hope that both teams get well health-wise and both teams figured out whether they need to make a trade or make a lineup adjustments so they can get on their P's and Q's so they can either face each other in the playoffs, which we all hope. And just to see both teams in the playoff is definitely what the NBA world rather see anyway. So, I mean, definitely both teams need to push harder and try to find a way to get there because, the season's going to go by quick and the opportunity of getting in the playoffs is going to get tougher the more and more you keep finding yourself losing games that you should win. But hey, that's my take on the situation. Leave any comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think, as always. And hey, Cali out.